Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to illustrate how to compute weighted average cost of capital for a real firm. And we'll continue with finding Briggs & Stratton's weighted average cost of capital. So no mini exercise in this video. Let's get into it. Now remember, so we've got weights to compute for Briggs & Stratton, which we did in the previous video. We'll compute the costs in this video. And then also we need to assume a tax rate. If you're interested in determining tax rates and exploring corporate taxation, you should probably be an accounting major, and feel free to talk to our accounting faculty about that. But let's go to, I put in a little space for us to show our work. Let's start by assuming a tax rate of 25%. That's the top tax rate for corporate in the US, and we'll move on from there. So now let's find the cost of bonds and the cost of common stock. Let's do common stock first. It's actually pretty straightforward using the capital asset pricing model, right? And so the things in this Word document are the things I'd be writing out on the board in meetings, but for now they're here. So remember the CAPM, the capital asset pricing model, says the discount rate on a share of stock is a function of its beta, its market risk, right? Non-diversifiable risk. And then also, what kind of return can I earn on a zero beta investment, like a risk-free return, the treasury bill return? And what kind of return can I earn on an investment with a return equal to that of the market, right? And so we need to make assumptions about the risk-free rate, right? Let's assume the risk-free rate is equal to the historical average return on the T-bills for the last 90 years that we looked at in Chapter 6. And then let's also assume that the market return is equal to the historical average return on the S&P 500 over the last 90 years. Remember we looked at these things in Chapter 6, risk and return. So those are the inputs. If you're interested in measuring risk-free returns or market returns using historical data in more depth than this, talk to me about being a finance major or minor. That'll be great. So the last thing we need is Briggs & Stratton's beta to measure its cost of common stock, right? And we can look that up on a finance website in the context of an exam question. A beta would be given, and so would the risk-free rate and the market return. So we can see that Briggs & Stratton's beta is 1.25. So with a beta of 1.25, we can compute the firm's cost of common stock just by plugging this stuff into the equation. Cost of common stock is equal to the risk-free rate, 3.3%, plus the firm's beta times this whole thing in parentheses. 11.7% is the market return, and then expected market return. And then 3.3% is the risk-free rate. So computing all this together turns out to be 13.8%. So a cost of common stock is equal to 0.138. Excellent. Now, let's move on and compute the firm's cost of debt, cost of bonds, cost of debt. Remember, that's the yield to maturity on Briggs & Stratton's bonds. And it pulled some information from Net Advantage about the bonds. And to try to make it analogous to the words in a problem that you'll see on an assignment or an exam, so some extra opportunity to practice. So here's the coupon rate for Briggs & Stratton's bonds with semi-annual coupon payments. 1 year until maturity, so there'll be 2 semi-annual coupon payments. They're trading at a discount. What is the firm's cost of debt? Also put in that the face value of the bonds is $1,000. I'll always put that in because we'll always use a face amount of 1,000. So let's figure out the things that we'll put into the rate function, right? And the number of periods is going to be year to maturity times 2 coupon payments per year, so 2 semi-annual coupon payments. The coupon payment itself is equal to the coupon rate times the face amount. 6.875% is the coupon rate times the face amount divided by 2. That math comes out to be 34.375 is the amount of each coupon payment. And then the price, the present value that we'll put into Excel, we'll put in negative 820 as the price. Face value equals 1,000. And now putting all this stuff in to Excel, let's clear this out and say N is 2, payment is 34.375, price, present value, negative 820, was present value is negative numbers in Excel, and then the future value is 1,000. So the rate function, we've put in semi-annual frequencies for everything, so we take 2 times the rate function to find the annual yield to maturity, right? Here's the number of periods. Coupon payment 34.375, present value is 820, future value is 1,000, all these separated by commas. And the output, I'm getting 28.9% as the firm's cost of bonds, cost of debt. That's the yield to maturity on their bonds. Pretty high number because Briggs & Stratton bonds are really risky. So cost of debt 0.289, 28.9%. So now what we can do is take the cost of common stock, the cost of bonds, and the weights that we found and put them all together. So let's do that. I've gone through and gathered all the weights and the costs that we've done at the end of the previous video and the current video, right? And so if you plug all of these things into the cost of capital formula with the tax rate and the weights and the costs, give it a try, compute it on your own, see what you come up with. I got, as a result, if you want to double check your work, here it is. I got 19.1% as Briggs & Stratton's weighted average cost of capital. If you got that, that's great. If you want to see the steps to go through it and plug everything in, I'm going to do that now. So let's do it right down here. I can do it. There we go. So the weighted average cost of capital, our weight in bonds, 0.67 times the cost of bonds, which is 0.289 times 1 minus the tax rate, plus the weight in stock, common stock, 33% of the firm is financed with common stock, times the cost of common stock. Once all that's plugged in, you should come up with a figure of about 19.1% as the firm's weighted average cost of capital. So that's the process front to back, a lot of things we've seen before. In the next chapter, chapter 10, we'll see how to apply this discount rate for purposes of maximizing shareholder value. All right, thanks for tuning in. See you in the next video.